Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Heal, Thrive, Dream. Nice to see you all back here again. Today I have Stacie Barber. Stacie is a women's life coach who focuses on mindset and life coaching. You can reach Stacie Barber through her website, staciebarber.com, or you can search for Stacie Barber Coaching. So Stacie, I know that was a really brief introduction. What would you like to add to our audience about what you do for women?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so honored to be here and to be able to be part of your community. Yes, I work specifically with women. I feel very drawn to that, being a woman myself and living the shoes that I've lived and experiences that I've had in my life. I feel that there is a great need there to be able to work with women and help them really start to come back home to themselves. That deep inner voice, that deep knowing that we all have, that a lot of times I see, especially in women, gets dampened or quieted by the outside world, right, of expectation or just all the things. It starts in grade school, even at home, like the things that we should do. I've heard the quote, like, stop shitting yourself to death. Mm-hmm. And I think that we just naturally sort of float into that. And so my work is really not numbing that out, but quieting it down enough to come back into your own desire to really remember who you were before the world really told you differently.
Right. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And before we can talk more about like specifics of what you offer women in coaching, is there a trauma story that you feel comfortable in sharing with our audience today? Because that often inspires them to see someone who's had a history and then go on to do something so amazing for women. Is there something you're comfortable to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the beauty of our story is the sharing of that story. And I think, it helps us see, like you said, the humanness and the realness of one another. So yes, I grew up in a home with an alcoholic father. As far as I can remember, that was something that he really battled in his life. And on the flip side, coin of that, I also had a grandfather who is a very well-known Baptist minister in our hometown. So I like to feel almost like I lived in two separate worlds. I would be, at church one day or with my dad the next. And there was always this feeling of like confusion of being in between two worlds. And as time went on, my dad's disease progressed. My mom decided that it was time to end the marriage. And that was around the time that I was 14. And anyone listening, remembering what it was like being a 14-year-old, that's enough in itself to just
For
be
real.
handling.
For real.
So then you throw on, you're kind of pulled out of the home that you grew up in. I remember my mom and my sister and I slept in the same bed in my aunt's house in the one room for a year. And so, you go from having your privacy, all the things, and to warrant my mom's courage, it was the most important thing she had to do for herself and us. But at that age, you almost feel as if the rug was pulled out from underneath you a bit. And I really started finding that I was getting myself into a lot of rebellious activities, and that continued for a few years. And then by about the age of 17, I found out that I was pregnant. So and it was with one of a boyfriend that I'd had before. It was not a great situation. And I remember in that moment, just sitting there really asking myself and anyone out there listening, like, is this really the plan? Like right now, is this what it's going to look like? Is this where I'm going? And I felt this comfort of, no, this is not it. There's more, we're just trusting in the plan. And so, really the most difficult decision that I've ever made in my life of having an abortion. My mom and I actually went together, and again, remembering all of the, the different worlds that I had been living in,
Right.
there was this, I like to describe it almost like a blanket of shame that I came home in that day that was really hard to come out from underneath.
Yeah.
And I went down like the lowest of lows. There were days that I could not even get out of bed and brush my teeth. I ended up dropping out of high school, and I didn't know what I didn't know what looked like next. I couldn't see the light. And I don't know how to describe this moment. It wasn't necessarily like an epiphany, but I just remember little slivers of light starting to come back in. And it would be that you have a choice here now too. Like, you can choose to stay here, or you can choose to do a little thing for yourself today. You can choose to get up and brush your teeth, or you can choose to sit up and be in the living room most of the day. And one thing, putting one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, started building into that, like that resilience and that remembering that, okay, there, like I said, that little voice, there is something more, I can make a better choice, a different choice for myself. So that became like a pretty slow road of healing. I remember walking into the local pregnancy center in our small town, and I walked in and I said, "I'm here to help everybody. I want to counsel. I want to help." And
I didn't know
the
that part of your
yes,
story.
yeah, this is really
Oh.
fun. And so the director, she kind of looked at me with one eyebrow up, like, I know
Mm-hmm.
what's happening, but she said, "Sure, okay, let's get you involved in the training." And I'm going through the training that we would actually be helping other people with. And as that happens, as you know, you start to also heal yourself. And
Yes.
I'm going through the training about 3 weeks in. I walk into her office and I said, "I'm not really here for them. I'm here for me." And she said, "I knew it." And so
She
it was
smelled it
really,
on you.
she smelled, she was like, "Uh-huh, got it." And so that was really important though, because it helped me start to tell my story, and it helped me start to be honest. And a quote that she shared with me that I carry with me to this day, and I often share with others, is something like this: anything in life, right? It can be a mistake or a bad choice that you made, or whatever it is. She said, if you look at it like a splinter that's kind of lodged in the skin, you can keep looking at it and just leave it there, and it's going to get infected. It's going to hurt even more. It's probably going to start to pus a little, like all the things that we don't want, right? Like, she said, but if you can take the time and the courage to pull that out, to see it for what it is, to call it by its name, right? Then you let the light and the air in so that can heal. And that's what she started helping me do: pull the splinter out, keep it out. And so I can see this as part of my story, but not who I am. Like, it doesn't define me any longer, right? Like, at that point, it really was. It was defining everything. And that helped me with the courage to be honest with my grandfather, who provided so much beautiful love and forgiveness, and reminded me that the forgiveness has to come from me, not
Oh.
anyone else.
But he
I
wasn't judgmental, like
at
you feared.
all. I
You
was
feared that,
so,
right?
oh my God, I went into my mom and my grandmother and I said, I've got to tell him, because I know that this is part of my work, is to be able to be honest about this. He can't hear about this from someone else. And they both immediately said, no, 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 no. I think it was my grandmother that said, that will break him, because we had such a great relationship. And I said, I think that he's going to see through different eyes. I trust this. And boy, yeah, it was at 0 ounce of judgment. It was all love, all understanding, remembering that we're human. Yeah, it was really, and I mean, you
Yeah.
sitting here with this man, in his rocking chair, and he's just the epitome of love. And that helped me forgive myself and helped me move past it. And so then I was able to speak in local churches about what had happened and my path of coming back home, and like pregnancy centers all over, schools. There's so many spaces that I was able to speak to kids that were at that point in life where they felt like, what's going on? I'm not sure what my identity is. I've made this bad choice, or whatever it is, and that really has been the foundation that has catapulted me into all of the opportunities that life has made available, because I chose to take the blanket of shame off and like
Hmm.
fold it up and put it back on the bed.
That is such, I don't think you have any idea how powerful that story is.
Thank you.
Because in my community, there's women who've had abortions and have suffered a lot
Yeah.
because of that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And then other members of my community don't understand the position that women can find themselves in, trapped alone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the pregnancy is a traumatic event that happened in a traumatic way. So, I mean, obviously I want to hear like how you can encourage survivors, but also what could you say to the people that are judgmental about this process? Like people who say innocent blood is on your hands, like just really horrible things like that.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any profound words or wisdom at this point?
Yeah,
I don't
think
have it yet. I need your help with that.
Yeah, I think yes, you're right. And I think unfortunately that is still it's part of it, right? And I think sometimes what I've noticed is that it's really frightening for other people to step into that space mentally, that they don't. The words that I want to give you is you never know another person's story. Please don't try to think that you do. Like we have no idea what people have gone through, what they're going through, what they're dealing with. And when this is it. It came to me. Byron Katie's work. I remember.
I love Byron Katie.
She's so good. So the way she describes it is there's 3 types of business. There's my business. There's your business, and then there's God's business. And when you're in my business or his business, nobody's taking care of your own.
Oh, that's perfect. That's
it. That's it.
That is perfect for this issue too. Yes,
it is.
Yes, because it drives me crazy. I often run into people who are pro-life until it happens to someone they love.
That's it. Because you don't know until you know.
That's right.
And if, typically what I find is the shield, the lens that they're looking through has become pretty narrow without their knowing. And I don't think that that's to judge. I think it's like, can we become aware of like, maybe this is your way of thinking, but can you keep that in your lane and not throw out the judgment to another? Because I think people don't realize that judgment hurts another individual so deeply. Yes. And I don't think that's the intention. I think they're trying to, hey, but understand it the way I see it, or believe the way I believe. And it's like, let's come back to my business, your business, God's business. Can you let that be where it needs to be? And I mean, listen, growing up where I grew up, I knew the opinions and thoughts of others. And I mean, I was standing in Baptist churches. So anybody that knows that religion, there's a very strong. And I also believe that the God that I believe in forgives all sins. That's right. There is not one that's bigger or better or worse than another. Right. And he has provided the gift that we can also forgive ourselves. And I think that is what we have to keep coming back to as a society, as a nation, as a world, that we don't know. We don't know what anyone else is going through. And it's really not our place or position to even attempt to begin to think so.
And also to women who make the decision for whatever reason, it's not pleasant. It's not fun. Oh. It's not a form of birth control. It's like I said, slice it. It's hard. It's hard.
It was like, I think I said it, like it's the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life. And yes, some may argue, well, you didn't have to make it. Well, that was my path. And so what I've noticed, this is the most beautiful part about being transparent about this part of myself. I cannot tell you how many women of all walks of life, of all ages, of all, religion, background, whatever, have come up to me and said, thank you for sharing what you share, because now I know I'm not alone. Thank you for helping me realize that I don't have to carry this by myself anymore, that I can start to let go of this. I had a 65-year-old grandmother come up to me and pull me away from the crowd the other day and said, I don't think you realize how much that meant to me. I also was there, and I haven't told anyone like through marriage. I mean, it's because it is. And I think once we put that coat or blanket of shame on, it's hard to start to take it off. It's like a weighted blanket, but we don't realize the freedom that we can have once it's down on the ground, right? Like once we can pull it off and shake it off. But it's coming back to that first step, like being aware that it's there. And then what's the one thing I can start to do today? Can I just start to provide myself a little bit more grace and love? Can I begin to maybe share this with a journal, right? And then maybe a therapist or however that path looks for you, just taking the splinter out as slowly or as quickly as you'd like. But I think the most important part is remembering that you have the opportunity and the option to take it out. Like that's your choice. No one else's.
Yes. And same once you take off that blanket of shame, please don't let anybody else put it on.
Please. We need you to be free. We need you to be light. We need you to show up. Like that's our birthright, right? Like that is what we've all been provided the opportunity to do. And that hurts my heart so much, is to see that like, oh, this feels comfortable, I'm going to go pick it back up. No. Like just go find something else that feels nice and fuzzy.
Yes, because the important thing about shame, there is nothing healing about it. There is no positive action that comes from it. So it's basically a useless emotion that will keep you stuck, and you don't deserve that. No matter what you did, whom you've done it to, no matter if you cheated on someone, no matter what you think you've done that is so awful, take responsibility and take action steps to live your best life.
Yes, absolutely. That's it. And, it's that it can be part of you, but it does not have to be all of you, And there's this great book. It's called Power versus Force. And there's a diagram that has energetic vibrational levels for each emotion. And guess who's at the very bottom of that list? Our friend shame. And it is the lowest vibrational level of any emotion out there. It is bottom of the stack. And you get up above and you get to courage and love, but like it's there for a reason. I mean, that's what it feels like. And I think when we can realize, hey, I'm functioning at like level 20 when I could be at level 700, I have that opportunity and ability. Why are we choosing to stay there? And can we make a different choice? I like to talk so much about the power of choice each and every day of our lives.
So what was the name of the book again?
It's called Power versus Force. And
versus Force.
I've got it close by. I can't remember the author. I will send that to you though.
Oh, that's okay. I can also look it up.
Yeah.
I just like when I always ask my guests.
Not always, most of the time, what their favorite reads are, reads that made a huge difference for them. And I like to put it in the show notes.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's a great one. I would say a couple other really instrumental books for me were The Untethered Soul. And that was Michael Singer. That really changed so much. And a really quick read that is great, especially for this type of work that we're talking about, is The 4 Agreements.
That's one of my favorites.
Love that one, right? And like, what's one of the agreements? Don't ever take anything personally. And
that
I think
agreement changed my life.
Me too. Same. Because
it really washed over me.
It does. And it's like we're talking about, like, even if we go back to this idea of judgment around abortion or woman's choice around what she does in her body and life, it like if we get to that space where we don't take any of that external outside noise personally, it doesn't matter because what they're saying has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. And that's the reality of anything. Like if we think about like the practice of projection, like however anyone is acting or treating or coming across to you, that's something that they're dealing with.
It's their issue.
That's their issue. And especially when you talk about something, exactly. Something as heated as abortion, man, it triggers a lot of stuff in front of people, and if we can come back, like, this is not about me. They are not judging me. They are dealing with what this is bringing up inside of them. What freedom does that provide? I mean, like that, I would say that's the book that was really big. It helps with with just so many things.
Well, what's interesting about that book is out of the 4 agreements, the agreement of not taking things personally is the only one I remember. It's the one I needed. And
that's it.
It's so amazing to me. Like I routinely recommend this book to clients because I just think it's so powerful. I'm like, I only remember one agreement, because I read it like, I don't know, a million years ago at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that chapter is beautiful. I highly recommend that chapter or the book.
I agree. It's funny. That was the one that stuck out to me too. I have to kind of go back in my mind bank to find the others, but but you get what you need from it, And I think that that's with anything like this talk that we're having. If somebody can walk away with one nugget, right? We've done our job here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I feel about anything that any of us put out. Like if we can take away one thing, if there's one little aha moment that comes from it, fabulous. Like we're doing the work.
When you were talking about, Stacie, when you were talking about like in your room, like when you came back from having the procedure
Mm-hmm.
and you were distraught
Mm-hmm.
and so sad, you kept talking about a voice. Would you say that was God trying to talk to you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, it was absolutely, it was God speaking to this, like the inner me, like
Mm-hmm.
the me, right? Like, hey, you're still there. Like,
well,
I
he's
know
there
you're
too.
hurting. He's all exactly. It's that, right? That I like to think of almost like the conduit that's constantly in communication. And yeah, oh, absolutely. And when you would get in the monkey mind and all the things start ruminating. And then it would be like, oh, wait, what was that? Who was that? And so you're reminded that it's, okay, we're processing through this. Yes. I look at that time as really important that I had to go there. Like I had to be able to feel all of those feelings, let myself just go in. Because I think if I would have buttoned it up,
Pretend everything is okay.
Put on a pretty face, resist it all. I would not be where I'm at right now with this. I trust that fully. And I think that feels so terrifying. You feel like you got to go in there, you got to be in it. But there is so much freedom on the other side of that, because if we don't, it's just a really big splinter that's stuck in there. Right. And, viewing emotion as just part of the human experience, and it doesn't have to be good or bad. Just, can we feel all that's coming up? Know that we're never alone, that like that little part of us and God is always inside. Trust that.
Yes.
And then be able to say, okay, I'm here. I know this isn't forever. I'm experiencing what's coming up. And then I'll know what to do when I know what to do next, right? I'll know when I need to know. And that's sort of the premise that I've moved forward in my life on before we bought business or whatever it is, in life that's happened. Like, I'll know when I need to know, because I know that I will be shown. And there's freedom in that too. Like, I don't have to control this. Like, I'm going to be shown, because I have been consistently,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so good. It's going to help so many people.
I hope so.
So many people suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, like, if women were interested in working with you, can you tell a little bit like what your coaching practice entails? Like, do you have, okay, go ahead. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love one-on-one work. It's I've noticed that everything I've been drawn to in life has been that building of relationship. And so I really love my one-on-one work, my coaching work with women. So I've got one-on-one opportunities. I also have small group, women's group opportunities. And there's the beautiful part about, if you sign up as a one-on-one client with me, you get access to the group also.
Oh, good.
So that's really beautiful. But I really love going there with women. I love being in that community of relationship, just one-on-one, and then being able to open up, because it does feel scary, right? And, I've had so many clients, they're like, I need this first, and then I can be more, I need to start to pull the splinter out with you. And then once it's out, or once I'm halfway there, then, I can be in that. So I really like to build it however women really want to show up, whatever feels aligned for them in this moment. But the goal is to help you come back to that, like that really deep inner seat of yourself that is there, has always been there, and will always be there. So whatever that looks like for you, however that you want to set that up. I typically work in 4 to 6 month program, like sessions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just to be able to build that relationship, to be able to be in the inner work of it. It doesn't happen overnight. Like it's a process. And I like to almost think of like a process of the unpeeling, the unveiling, that can sometimes feel really frightening. And to be able to have someone walk alongside you in that is so important. So you don't feel alone. Mm-hmm.
Yes. We didn't talk about your professional training at all. Like, it's not that coaches need to have certain pieces of education, but I think some women feel like the services are even a little more appealing to them. Like that you've had some courses and can critically think. It makes you more of an expert, might be the best way to say it. Do you mind sharing what your degree is in? And
not at all.
That works with coaching. Yeah,
absolutely. So kind of to go back to where I left off with the story, I ended up graduating high school. I went and got my undergrad in health promotion and business. And my graduate degree, I was really drawn. I wanted to be in the field of being able to, again, build relationship, help people where they're at. And I was really drawn to the field of occupational therapy because the profession itself has mental health roots. That's where it started, was helping others in the world of mental health, being able to build better habits for themselves, the daily activities, all of those. Whereas physical therapy, it was very much about the body, right? And I was like, no, I want to work with the whole person. And so I went to the medical university here in Charleston. It was a 3-year program. It was amazing. And I was really still drawn to the mental health. I being in the shoes that I've been in, I know the importance of demystifying all of the things that we, society is still working on. That, listen, there is no difference between my brain hurting and my knee hurting. Can we treat it like that? And
my soul hurts.
Yes, exactly. So I did a lot of work in inpatient rehabilitation. So we got to really know the clients, stroke, spinal cord, brain injury. I mean, I've worked in that field for 8 years. And that's a really quick fun story too. My dad the disease ended up ending his life, and I had to go back home and take care of him. And I remember walking into my childhood living room, and my dad is laying in a hospital bed. He can hardly communicate. And it was cirrhosis of the liver, severe cirrhosis. And immediately though, I said to myself, I know what to do. I've done this for 8 years. Like, I can move him, I can transfer him, I can give him medicine. I can do this. And that was empowering. And the night before my father passed away, that voice, right? God spoke to me again and said, okay, my child, like, you have all that you've trained for, prepared you for this moment in life, in time, to be able to walk in.
What is up with you?
I know, right? I believe in tears. No, it's great. And he said, but now you're done. And now it's time to be done. And I argued with him. I said, but my insurance and my daycare for my girls, and what's my husband going to think? And he was like, it's time. And I was like, all right, this is when I know I have to trust and surrender again. And so the next day I called my boss and I said, I can't explain this to you other than I'm going to give you a month's notice and I have to be done. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I was working at the Pilates studio. I love that type of movement and working with people in that regard. And so I was doing that part-time, but I didn't really have a plan. And I needed
Who needs a plan?
Who needs a plan?
When you have God.
When you have God, yeah, because he provides it. And so it's amazing. It provided so much space for me to then get my coaching certification, which I didn't really know that that's what I was being drawn to, but boy, oh boy, it's what I do every day of my life in conversation all the time.
Right.
And that provided space for me to start to really figure out what is it that I want my life to look like. And about 6 months later, we got the opportunity to actually buy that Pilates studio. And I wouldn't have even considered that if I would have been busy at the hospital. And it's those things. And then it's like, okay, well, now you got that under your belt. Now let's go back to this coaching thing. And it's like, okay, got it. So it's this following the nudges, And so I'm such a continuing education certification junkie.
It's a sick mix, actually.
I know, it's really true. I know. And I'm like, at one point my mom was like, when are you going to be done? And I was like, never. I'm just figuring it all out. So I'm certified as a life coach, as a health coach, and also a lot of work with like NLP, hypnotherapy, time techniques, EFT, really beautiful, like subconscious, deep inner healing work that goes directly in. And so there's a basket of tools that we can use, but it goes back to building the relationship, meeting someone where they're at, helping them start to open the awareness of what they really need, and then being able to say, okay, we can plug and play here. Like we'll figure it out together. So yeah, that's been nice. And you're right. I think even at the Pilates studio, people are drawn sometimes to like, okay, you really know the body, or you really know, what you're doing here. And so I appreciate that. And I loved every second of the education that I've gained. It has helped me continue to heal myself, continue to help others in so many ways. And so I think, it's that, like you're talking about, it's like we're always growing and evolving, and whatever that looks like is our path. And so, yeah, I'm sure by the next time we talk, there'll be something else. I'll say, oh my gosh, this great thing.
Absolutely. It will happen to me almost daily at this point.
Know.
Ever since I left that full-time job, like the opportunities have been astounding.
Oh, I agree. But you're open, and the universe knows that, So I think that's the beauty of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the thing about continuing ed, all that stuff too, I think it shows clients that we really want to give them the very best. And the best way for us to do that is to learn the very best technique and procedures out there.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, if we're asking someone else to invest in themselves, and if we're not investing in ourselves, like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't jive. So yeah, that's the way I look at it. I'm investing in myself when I do these courses and these trainings. And then that allows others to say, oh, that's what's happening. That's what's working.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to wrap up. I hate to. I really hate to.
I could talk about this all day.
I know. And so we talked about your website, but is that the best way you want people to reach out to you, is through your website?
Yeah, that's great. On my website, so just so everybody knows, you spell my name with an I-E. Sometimes that gets a little bogged down. So on my website, there are applications, quick, it's like a 10-question application just to see where people are at for both my private and group coaching programs. And then there is just a contact me that will come directly to my email inbox. So either of those are great. But yeah, I would be honored to be able to walk alongside some of these amazing women, and I think if not now, then when? Like now is the time, and so yeah, that would be great. I would love to hear from you guys.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Stacie, for being a guest with us today.
It was my honor. So much fun. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.